All right, let's get right into it. We spend a ton of time talking about how AI is going to change our jobs, right? But what about how it's changing, well, us? Today, we're going to look at how AI isn't just automating our to-do lists, it's quietly rewriting the unwritten rules of how we work together.
You hear this everywhere. I mean, this is the official line, the big sales pitch. Leaders are excited and, for good reason. AI promises to bring this amazing clarity, this speed, this objectivity. It's sold as this clean, data-driven upgrade to our messy human gut feelings.
But then, you ask a really simple question like this one, and the whole perfect story just starts to fall apart. Because look, the data, it isn't exactly a lie, but it is absolutely not the whole truth. And that gap, the space between what the data says and what's really happening, that's where your company culture is being silently re-engineered. And that's the mystery we're going to unpack.
So, to really get what's going on here, we have to see AI for what it truly is. It's not some new villain inventing brand new problems for us. No, it's actually become the perfect alibi for all the problems and biases that were already there, hiding right under our noses.
Think about it like this. Your shiny new AI platform, it's not an architect, building your culture from the ground up. It's a mirror, and it reflects every single decision, every promotion, every quiet little interaction that has ever happened in your company. It inherits it all, the good, the bad, and especially the unspoken. And this is the invisible stuff that AI is actually learning from. We're not talking about neat spreadsheets here. We're talking about the subtle assumptions baked into performance reviews from like 1995. It's that hiring manager who always seemed to prefer candidates from his own college. It's the way ideas from some people get praised while the exact same ideas from others just disappear. AI takes all of this messy human stuff and polishes it until it looks like pure, objective fact. So, how does this actually happen? How does an algorithm take all these old, unspoken rules and turn them into a new, hidden code that starts to run the entire office?
Well, it pretty much happens in 4 stages. First, the AI just soaks up all that history we just talked about. Second, it repackages those patterns into these clean, objective recommendations. The data says so. Third, and this is the absolute key, we humans, we stop questioning it. We start to trust the machine more than our own instincts. And finally, without a single memo or policy change, the culture just shifts. The system's logic becomes the new reality.
And there's a name for this moment: quiet surrender. It's not some big dramatic event. It's a slow, silent turning point. It's that moment when a manager feels in their gut that something is off about a candidate the system flagged, but they go with the AI's recommendation anyway. That's it. That's the surrender. So what does this actually look like in the real world? Let's take a look at a fascinating example of 2 teams inside the very same company. They were given the exact same AI tool, but they ended up with completely, totally different cultures. This is so incredibly important to understand. It proves that the technology itself isn't what's driving the change. It's the culture that was already there, the human part of the equation that decides whether this tool becomes a helpful assistant or an unquestioned king. So on one side, you have what's called quiet rebellion. These folks see the AI making dumb mistakes, so they trust their own expertise and they figure out workarounds. They know the system isn't perfect. But on the other side, you've got quiet resignation. This team treats the AI's output as absolute gospel. Their manager just says, hey, the model says so, and their success is measured by how well they obey the machine, not by whether they actually got a good result.
And please, don't think this is just some weird one-off story about one company. This exact dynamic, this tension between human culture and the logic of an algorithm, it's playing out in offices all over the globe, right now.
For instance, in Vienna, there's an AI tool that predicts who's likely to quit their job, but the HR team there, they pretty much ignore it. Why? Because they know the real reason people leave is a bad relationship with their manager, something the AI just can't see. Or take Tokyo. A system flags a whole team for low productivity. Now, a manager who only looks at data might start cracking the whip. But the human manager knows that one of their team members just passed away, and the team is grieving. So they override the alert, choosing basic human empathy over cold efficiency. And in Lagos, an AI sees someone logging in at strange hours and flags it as disengagement. So what do the people there have to do? They have to go in and manually add a note to the file just to give the AI the context it's missing. They literally have to teach the machine how to see reality. All of these stories point to a brand new definition of what culture really is. It's not the mission statement you have hanging on the wall. Real culture, it's the sum of all these little workarounds.
It's in the tweaked spreadsheet, the quick conversation after the official meeting, the human judgment calls that happen in those messy spaces between the official rules and how things actually get done.
Which brings us to the most important part of all. If this is the new world we live in, how on earth are you supposed to lead? How do you manage a culture that's being shaped by forces you can't even see?
The answer is right here. Being a leader in the age of AI isn't about becoming a data expert. It's about becoming an expert in human doubt. The most crucial work you can do is to listen for that tiny hesitation in someone's voice right before they click approve.
Because if you don't, this is what happens. It's a slow, quiet death of critical thinking. The engineer who used to argue for a better way, now she just clicks accept. The manager who used to ask his team what they thought, now he just waits for a green light from the system. And the intern learns pretty quickly that asking why is a lot less valuable than just following the arrow on the screen. And let me be clear, you can't fix this with the old management playbook, a half-day workshop on thinking outside the box, or a new poster about innovation is completely and totally useless against this kind of cultural drift. And why is that? It's because the problem isn't in your org chart or your employee handbook. The problem is invisible. It lives in the collective, unspoken decision to just stop questioning, to stop debating, to stop speaking up. And that really brings us to the core message here. Real leadership in this new world, it means listening for what is not being said. The data, the dashboards, the reports, that can all just be noise. The real signal is in the silence. The questions people aren't asking anymore, the doubts they're not voicing out loud.
So, after all of that, what's the one crucial point? What is the one question that every single leader, every manager, heck, every person in an organization needs to be asking themselves right now?
Are you just getting lost in the noise of dashboards and metrics and all those system-generated reports? Or are you paying attention to the silence, to the human hesitation, the quiet workarounds, and the real culture that lives in those tiny spaces between the clicks? Because that choice, that's what will define the kind of company you become.